Today we will be studying about fluid kinematics, and we all know fluid kinematics is nothing but study of the motion of fluid without considering the forces involved in it. Let us see the methods used for calculating the motion of fluid. Basically, there are two categories or two approaches through which we can calculate the motion of fluid. First one is Lagrangian approach and second one is Eulerian approach. If we focus upon the Lagrangian approach, then we see that it is individually fluid particle which is being traced. That is, if we are taking within a flow, a particular fluid is fixed and it is traced throughout its path. The moment the fluid particle comes over here, we calculate the entire parameters like velocity, pressure, acceleration. Next moment, when the fluid particle moves to other place, we again calculate the velocity, pressure and density of that particular thing. Or you can say it is nothing but individual particles is being traced out together with the fluid parameters involved in it, and hence separate sheet is being prepared to calculate the summation of that, the motion of the fluid. Coming to Eulerian's approach, what Euler stated instead of calculating a single particle's measurement, that is its velocity, pressure or its density or any of the characteristics of the fluid particle, we can fix a location or location oriented program we can have, that is a control section we can fix, and within, let us suppose if this is section 1 and this is section 2, we can calculate all those parameters of all the fluids coming at section 1, and then after travelling at a section 2, we can again calculate all those parameters which are being required for calculating the motion of fluid, and their difference will be giving the value of those parameters. That is, Eulerian's gives a approach which is at a fixed location. There were two approaches, since we can see that Lagrangian was a particle based approach and Eulerian gave a approach which is location based. We can fix a location. Diagrammatically you can see that for the Eulerian's approach, there can be a location at certain this location. We calculate the parameter with respect to distance x, y, z in time delta t. Coming to Lagrangian approach, you can see that it is not bothered about the location, but that particular location is being traced by a single particle, what the actually single particle possess in this particular location. If we focus on the current workability of the approaches or calculation of motion of fluid, we will be able to see that Lagrangian approach in our general day to day life is very infeasible or impractical. So, all the calculation of fluid motions calculation are based on Euler's approach. Coming to the flow patterns which are being seen, they can be path line, streak line and streamline. Coming to the path line, it is nothing but a trajectory path of a single particle that is being traced from point 1 to point 2. Let us suppose consider a particle A which is shown in this figure, and there you can see after some time like delta t, after a time delta t, it reaches another point. Let us suppose this is point B. Then the line which is joining these two positions is known as path line. That is the time, after a time delta t, the particle A reaches from point A to B, and this particular line joining this location is known as nothing but path line. Coming to the second pattern of flow which we can see, it is streak line. Streak line is nothing but a location oriented. Path line, you can say a single element or a single particle is being traced out throughout its flow of motion, and that is in terms of path line. If we are coming to the streak line, then it is location oriented. We fix a location and then we see how many number of particle passes from that particular location. Like in this diagram, you can see that particle A, B, C and D, these all passes through a single point O, and the line joining A, B, C, D is known as streak line. Coming to the streamline, which are actually imaginary set of lines, and they are formed in basically to calculate the local velocity vectors. Here you can see, we can see x, y and z, there are 3 planes spaces in there, and here we can see at some point these local velocity vectors are being drawn, and then a single line is being joined to these local velocity vectors being a tangent to all of these is known as streamline. Streamlines show the direction of fluid at any particular instant of time. They also give you the idea of velocity vectors of that particular direction. So, there were 3 patterns we have seen, 2 approaches, 2 methods we have seen for calculation of motion of fluid, Lagrangian approach and Eulerian's approach. Coming to the flow patterns, there are 3 type of patterns, path line, streak line and streamline. Coming to the types of flow. So, they will be covering 6 types of flows, that is steady flow and unsteady flow, uniform and non-uniform flow, laminar and turbulent flow, compressible and incompressible flow, rotational and irrotational flow, one dimensional, 2 dimensional and 3 dimensional flow. 6 set of types of flow we will be covering in today's lecture. Coming to steady and unsteady type of flow. Steady defines when the fluid parameters like velocity, acceleration, pressure or density, they all remain constant with respect to time, then that particular flow is known as steady flow. Like flow in a pipe with a constant discharge can be termed as steady flow, while the vice versa of the same steady flow is termed as non-steady flow. That is, if any of the parameter, whether it is velocity, pressure, density, it changes with time, then it is termed as unsteady flow. For unsteady flow, the perfect example you can see that the flow of water in varying discharge when Q is not constant, then that particular flow will be known as unsteady flow. Coming to uniform and non-uniform flow. Uniformity basically depends upon the velocity remains constant with time in a particular space or particular length of the pipe, or you can say the flow in which velocity at a given time does not change with space is known as uniform flow. Coming to its vice versa, if the velocity with respect to time and space changes, then that particular flow will be known as non-uniform flow. Now, you can see there are 2 categories we have covered, steady flow and uniform flow, and their vice versa, that is non-steady flow and non-uniform flow. In steady flow, we have seen all the parameter or any one of the parameter, if it changes with time, then that particular will be non-steady flow. While for the case of uniform flow, you can see that uniformity of velocity should be same with respect to time and space. Means there can be a situation where steady can give 2 different type of flows and unsteady can also give a 2 different type of flows, or further 4 cases can prevail together, wherein you can see that the category steady and unsteady flow. Steady can also possess uniform flow like this you can see, and steady can also have unsteady non-uniform flow. Again moving to the unsteady flow. Unsteady flow can also have a uniform flow, right, because uniform flow is nothing but the change or constant in velocity with respect to time and space. So, unsteady uniform flow. Next one, if the velocity changes with time and space, it comes to the category or case 4, that is unsteady non-uniform flow. Moving to the compressible and incompressible flow. Compressibility basically stands for the density, change in density, or you can say the ratio of mass by volume. When we try to change the mass or we try to adjust the mass with respect to there is a change in the volume, and that results in the variation in the density. So, if the fluid is compressible means density is variable, or you can say that the flow in which density does not remains constant is compressible flow. And there you can see where are compressible types of fluid. Fluids are basically either they are liquid or they are gases, right. For gases you can say water is always incompressible. For gases you can say that all the problems involving the flight of rockets are always variable, or its density cannot remain constant, and hence they are compressible fluid flow. Coming to the incompressible flow, where the density remains constant, and in most of the cases water or other liquids are being treated as incompressible until and unless some other fluid is not being added to it, which is affecting the density of that particular fluid. Here you can say that all the liquids problems will be incompressible. In general we are talking until and unless any one liquid do not harm or change the density of other liquid while mixing, and whereas in the gases they are always compressible, they can change. You can see this is incompressible flow, pressure at point 1 and pressure at point 2. This is compressible, where the compressible it will change. This particular mass by volume relationship changes to this one, where incompressible it remains constant. Coming to next one, rotational and irrotational flow. Rotational flow is the one in which the fluid travel a distance from a point A to point B with all its particles rotating about their own axis. Or you can say that, let us consider this is a cylinder and we are rotating this cylinder is having some fluid, and while we are rotating this cylinder, if the fluid inside is also rotating, then this particular flow type of flow will be known as rotational flow. While if we are rotating this cylinder and the fluid present inside it do not rotate, then that particular type of flow will known as irrotational flow, where you can see that fluid particles while flowing through the streamlines rotate about their own axis is known as rotational flow. While in other, if you see that particular flow is rotating, then it is rotational flow, and same in the same situation if you see that the fluid present inside don't rotate or does not rotate, it is known as irrotational flow. And in real fluid, real type of fluids, as we know there are real fluid, ideal fluid, then Newtonian fluid and non-Newtonian fluid. Then a notable thing is that no real flow is irrotational, none of the real flow is irrotational. We will see another example with diagrammatic representation. This is a set of flow, you can say this is velocity distribution of fluid flowing in this direction. Here we have considered two fluid particles, fluid particle 1 and fluid particle 2. Fluid particle 1 reaches from point this to final point this without rotating on its own axis. After covering certain distance, it is again in a similar about its own axis, it is not rotating a point B and point C. Even after reaching to the final point, that single fluid particle is not rotating about its own axis, and hence this type of flow is known as irrotational flow. That is, there is no change in velocity component with respect to the distance travel in either of the sides. Coming to the rotational flow or coming to the particle number 2, there you can see that there is a particle, and where you can see after travelling a distance of dx, it rotates, slightly rotates about its axis, then again after travelling a distance of x dx2, it has rotated, and finally when you are seeing to it, it is not exactly in what position it has started, means it keeps on rotating about its own axis together with the rotation from the initial point to final point, and this is known as rotational flow. Coming to one dimensional, two dimensional and three dimensional flow. Basically in most of the cases or most of the complex situations, fluid flow is always three dimensional, but there can be certain cases where velocity component or contribution of velocity component may be lesser or relatively lesser from one or other velocity component. In such cases, we avoid the existence of that particular velocity component and considers the rest 2 or rest 1, and hence can categorize it as one dimensional, two dimensional or three dimensional. Coming to one dimensional, in some situation where two velocity components may be small relative to the other one. Here you can see that velocity, there are three velocity components, x, y, z direction. X will be u, y will be v component, and in z direction it is w. When we are seeing v and w, the value of v and w, that is the velocity components in y axis and velocity component in z axis, is negligible or lesser in amount with respect to the velocity component in x axis. So, in such cases other two velocity components are neglected, and hence that particular type of flow can be considered as one dimensional flow, keeping that u is a function of x distance, that is horizontal distance covered in x direction. There can be very few flows that are truly one dimensional, as I already discussed or told you that most of the cases fluid flow are in three dimensional, but at times this assumption of neglecting the two components v and w because of their contribution is very less is known as one dimensional flow. Coming to the two dimensional flow, where one velocity component may be small related to the other two. In the previous one you have seen two velocity components value is small related to the one. In the third one, so we have neglected these two and treated it as one dimensional flow. Coming to the next category, here we can see that one particular velocity component is smaller with respect to the velocity component in x direction and y direction. Here you can see that velocity component is a function of x and y, and again velocity component in y direction is a function of x and y with certain value. These values exist and relatively w component do not contribute as much as v and w do. So, we are neglecting this velocity component, treating this type of flow as two dimensional flow. Coming to the three dimensional flow, 3D flow. In 3D flow, we see that velocity vectors u, v and w both are equal in, all the three are equal in magnitude, that is velocity component or input of velocity component in x direction, in y direction, in z direction is having a certain value which is magnificent, and second one is v velocity, that is velocity vector in y component, again it do have certain points coordinate, velocity vector in z direction representing by w, that is having certain function of x, y and z, or you can say we are having average velocity of the cross section with resultant of velocity component in x direction, velocity component in y direction and velocity component in z direction. Resultant velocity, or you can say u, v, w, all these three components are equal in magnitude and cannot be neglected because their contribution is equal, and hence an average velocity can be found out with the help of these three components, and this situation is known as flow in 3D. Coming to the flow measurements based on the dimensionless number, till now we have covered 6 types of flow, in which we have covered steady flow, unsteady flow, uniform, then we have covered one dimensional, two dimensional, three dimensional, rotational or irrotational, and compressible and incompressible. Now, there are few categories of types of flow which are dependent on dimensionless number. So, before considering the categories of dimension based on dimensionless number, let us know or go through about dimensionless numbers. What are the dimensionless number? Right now, we will be going in brief about dimensionless number, because in unit 5 we will be covering the dimensionless number in detail. So, as of now you can say that dimensionless number is nothing but the ratio of all the forces which are involved in the motion of a fluid, may be gravitational force, may be pressure force, may be viscous force, may be elastic force, and so on. These are the various categories of forces involved in the motion of a fluid, and what we will be seeing in a single category of fluid, we can see that any one or any two of the forces will be in dominant and others will be in reciprocatory or very negligible amount giving their contribution in it. We have categorized the ratio of these forces. Let us suppose if the ratio of gravitational and pressure force is there, we have a set of dimensionless number with Reynolds number, let us suppose. Then again another set of where pressure force and viscous force are dominant, that will be another set of dimensionless number. Viscous force and elastic force, that will be another set of dimensionless number. So, here categorized the types of flow based on the dimensionless number, and since the forces are being in the ratio like inertia, let us suppose if we are doing inertia force by gravitational force, these both are forces, so their dimension will be cancelled and hence maybe they are termed as dimensionless number. So, the major categories of types of flow from will be laminar, transition and turbulent flow, critical, subcritical, supercritical flow, subsonic, sonic and supersonic flow. Moving to the first one, what is laminar and turbulent flow, that too based on dimensionless number. Visualizing the laminar flow, you can see that whenever there is a flow and that is forming within a lamina, that is all the fluid particles having same velocity possess into a single lamina, and the velocity with lesser amount will be having a different lamina. When the flow is in lamina, you can see in the diagram it is given the flow is in laminar or single layer by layer. In this you can say maybe the velocity will be very low or maybe the cross sectional area of flow will be very wide. In such cases the flow is about to be a laminar flow. Now, in another flow you can see that where the particle, fluid particle or waves or tides of the flow cross each other, those are termed into turbulent flow, and you can visualize generally non-restricted flow is always a turbulent flow. This was about the general visualization about flow, laminar and turbulent, and there can be a set of role where you can see laminar and turbulent, where a one state is there that laminar force is being changed into turbulent layer. And live example is what, if you are seeing a canal is flowing or you can see a tank where water pipe is applied to its end, and there you can see the moment or the layer or the amount, or there will be a certain depth where you can see the pressure inserted and there can be a huge turbulency can be seen, but at the bottom where is no disturbance of pressure or the gravitational force, there can be a settling layers and there must be a layer, and that is particular termed as laminar flow. This was about the visibility. Now, question comes how we are going to determine whether the flow is laminar or turbulent, because in most of the cases you will be able to see that the flow is turbulent only. So, as we have seen the categories, this laminar, turbulent is based on the dimensionless number. Let us talk about which dimensionless number is related to this particular type of flow. There is Reynolds number, where is nothing but ratio of inertial force by viscous force involved in that particular type of flow. The ratio of inertial force, that is, first of all we have very clear idea the flow is having inertial flow and viscous flow as a dominant type of forces involved in it, and their ratio is termed as Reynolds number. So, Reynolds number will be having, after calculating this inertial force and viscous force, we are getting it as this will be the diameter of the pipe, velocity and density of the fluid we are using together with the viscosity of the fluid containing in that particular section. So, here you can see if the Reynolds number, the value of Reynolds number after applying the diameter, velocity, density and viscosity, the value is up to 4000, that is 0 to 2000, then that particular type of category you can summarize it as laminar flow. And if this value raises to 4000 or more than 4000, then that considered it as turbulent flow. And in case the value lies between 2000 to 4000, that is, it is neither laminar nor turbulent, and that situation is termed as transition flow, or you can say the type of flow is getting transmitted from laminar to turbulent one. Coming to the critical, subcritical and supercritical flow. Critical flow is the flow in which occurs at critical depth, and critical depth is nothing but whenever there is a possible case of discharge from one end to other end, that minimum depth is known as critical depth, and depth and the flow occurring at that particular depth is termed as critical flow. Below that critical flow, supercritical, critical means minimum, there will be a minimum depth you can say, and it will be a critical flow. Super minimum means super minimum, again a value lesser than this minimum means it will be below. So, flow occurring below the critical depth will be termed as supercritical, while the flow at normal or above critical depth is known as critical flow. This was about the visualization, but how we are going to determine whether the depth is critical or not, and how we will be able to find out. This is related to nothing but Froude's number, another dimensionless number, which is nothing but inertial force by gravitational force. Here you can see Froude's number is nothing but inertial force by gravitational force occurred in that particular section of flow, in which you can see it is nothing but V under root of G d, where d in case of hydraulic, in case of open channel it is hydraulic depth, else you can take it as diameter, and if the value of this Froude's number is equivalent to 1, then that particular depth is critical depth, and flow occurring at that particular depth is known as critical flow. Or in short, you can visualize, if Froude's number is less, then the flow is critical. If Froude number is more than 1, then it is supercritical, and if it is less than 1, then it is subcritical flow. Coming to next or the last category based on the dimensionless number, it is nothing but Mach number related to the Mach number, sonic, subsonic and supersonic. You can see sonic means when the Mach number is 1, or you can say when the ratio between the local velocity and sonic velocity, here V is representing the local velocity of the pipe flow and C is representing the sonic velocity. Then when the Mach number is 1, then that particular will be sonic, supersonic will be when Mach number is greater than 1, subsonic will be when the Mach number is less than 1, and hypersonic when the value will be greater than 6 or 5. Both categories are considered in that. The similar values there, Mach number is another dimensionless number, which is nothing but I have already covered local velocity by sonic velocity, and hence we can categorize the type of flow we are dealing with. Summarizing all of these, we can see that today we have covered the approaches of calculating motion of fluid, that is Lagrangian and Eulerian approach, then flow patterns, path line, streak line and streamline, types of fluid flow on the locally based, and types of fluid flow based on the dimensionless number. In our next lecture, we will be covering continuity equation in its various forms. Thank you.